Hi, Eric Gibaud, Gibaud.com, and today I'm going to speak to you about this lens by Meike 60mm 2.8 macro lens. This is for APS-C mount, also for micro four third. I'm going to show you pictures I've made with it. Also at the end of the video I put all the pictures, okay, and I will give you my impression. So let's start. So let's look at the lens. It is fully metal except the cap that is plastic, okay. Really nice build, really nice. Even the here you have some anti-slide, I call that, yeah, it's metal also, really nice. Here you have the aperture ring that goes from 2.8 to f22. There is no click. I prefer to have clicks. I don't know why they don't put clicks here. I know it's macro, so this is why normally, well, some people do video with macro, but still I think it would be nice to have clicks. Here you have the manual focusing, because this is a manual lens, and I'm a bit surprised that the aperture ring is softer than the focusing ring. I would prefer that, as there is no clicks, to have a bit stiffer aperture ring and a bit smoother focusing ring. Okay, here you have the distance scale in meter, in metrics, and also in imperial, in feet. Okay, and what do I say about the build? Well, 11 elements in 8 groups, and the aperture has 9 blades, so you will see the effect on the bokeh. Okay, and yeah, it looks really nice lens. It's not too heavy, 300 grams, that's fine. The size is okay. The minimum focusing distance is 17.5 centimeters, but when you speak about minimum distance, it's from the sensor, so it means it's about, yeah, that far from this, yeah, more or less. Okay, so you can really focus really close. Okay, the diameter for filter is 49mm, which is very standard. So now let's look at the result and my opinion. Okay, so this is an APS-C lens and micro four third. For APS-C it exists for Fujifilm X, for Sony E, for Nikon Z, for Canon M, for Canon RF, and micro four third. Okay, when we speak about Sony E, Nikon Z or Z, and Canon RF, it is for the APS-C cameras they have with this mount, like R7, Z50, Sony A6000, for example. So some people ask, can I put it on a full frame camera with this mount? Yes, you can, but it will vignette. Okay, so that's not thought for it. Okay, so really important, if you want any of this lens for Sony E mount, it has to be on APS-C, for example. Okay, when we speak about macro, we speak about the size factor, like 1:1 or 2:1 or 1:2, depends, is half or twice, or exactly the same size as reality, which is 1:1. Well, this one is 1:1, which is what many people look for. So fantastic to get a 1:1 macro ratio, so perfect. So it is a manual lens, so I recommend you activate focus peaking or what is the magnifying glass when you're going to focus. Important, there is absolutely no communication with your camera body. That means that some camera, like Fujifilm, you have to indicate in the menu that it can shoot without lens, because for the camera it's like if there was no lens. Okay, other brands doesn't give any problem. If they don't see a lens, you can keep shooting anyway, but it means, as there is no communication, that you don't have any autofocus. But also, if you wanted to do focus stacking, you have to do it manually, because the camera cannot manage the lens and the focusing point, so you have to manually move a bit and then stack yourself the pictures with the software in your computer. Okay, that's not a big problem. Okay, depends the kind of picture you make. If you're doing focus stacking every day, maybe you prefer to have an autofocus. Okay, but in this case, for a kind of picture like I show you here, it's not really a problem. Okay, so for some people, not having an autofocus sounds a bit complicated. But really, very often you shoot manually when you manual focusing, or when you do macro photography, because anyway, you have to really stabilize everything. Even if your camera body is as an IBIS, it will compensate vertical, horizontal, but not forward, backward. So it means that it's really usual to use a tripod when you make a macro photography. So once it's on a tripod, it doesn't really matter to manually focus. For me, that's not really a problem. Anyway, when you see the price of this lens, is a real bargain, less than 200 euros. I think it's about 180, something like this. There's nothing for that price. So that's a great lens. We're going to see the results, but really I think that it is manual. This is not really a problem for this kind of lens, for macro lens anyway. Okay, when we speak about macro lenses, normally we want two things that are good. One is the bokeh. I speak about the autofocus, not the amount of depth, not the depth of field. I speak about the autofocus part. The way it looks with an aperture with 9 blades. The quality is really nice. I think it's smooth, it's creamy, that's nice, okay? And the other thing we like is that the sharp part is really sharp. And I would say that at 2.8 it's not the sharpest lens. Nothing you cannot fix in post-production anyway, putting a bit more sharpness, okay? But from f4 to f16, sharpness is really good. At f22 there is some diffraction, but normally you don't work at f22 anyway. And I would say this lens is really good from f4 to f16, f11. I would probably work with it around f5.6, f8. Anyway, normally when you make some macro pictures, except if you want something really artistic, you don't want just a tip of a fork to be in focus, like the picture I show you right now, you want a bit more. So normally you will not work at maximum aperture, but if you did, f4 is a bit better than 2.8. So I think the quality is good, and for that price, but there's nothing we can cry about. I mean, it's really, really, really good results. Having a sharper lens, yes, there are some sharper lenses, but for a serious budget, more expensive budget. Okay, so far I like the lens. So my conclusion, well, honestly, I think for that price there's nothing we can ask more than what they give. Okay, I think this lens is ideal for people who have a tight budget, or people who don't do macro photography very often and they don't want to spend too much on the lens. I think the quality is good. Obviously, if a lens costs 10 times more, it will not be 10 times better, but normally, yes, better. But when I judge a lens, I take into account also the budget, okay? You cannot be as hard on the lens that has a good price, a cheaper price than a really expensive lens. And here, for the price asked, the quality is good. This is the ideal lens for people who have like this. I tested with my Fujifilm X-E1. People who have a tight budget camera and they don't want to have an expensive lens on it. This is ideal. You can start doing macro for a bargain price. So honestly, I think this lens gives a good quality and is completely recommendable. So in case you would be interested, I'll leave you a link in the description on where you can buy it. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Small button and here is a small bell. If you click on the bell, get notified when I upload a new video. My website, Gibaud.com. If you have any question, can leave a comment below. Also leave you links on my gear on Amazon, links of everything I reviewed by K&F Concept, Sandmarc and Flashes by Westcott, and more affiliated links, and also a link to my PayPal account in case you wanted to make a donation. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.